Okay. Okay. As a secondary food producer, I'm passionate about South Australian produced food. Like me, our producers are often small to medium-sized businesses who pride themselves on producing truly amazing food. Further, we are blessed with ideal growing conditions, space and land, multiple microclimates across the regions, and isolation, which ultimately enhances our competitiveness. And we have a stable political and economic system to operate in. South Australia's primary food resources are characterised by quality, supported by firm regulation and standards, and resourced with government initiatives for science and innovation. South Australian produced food is internationally renowned as unique, premium, clean, green, and pristine. But there are gaps, and the CSIRO's Futures and Agribusiness Roadmaps 2017 and 2019 indicate a threat of decline in growth unless we become more competitive globally. I have a passion for South Australian food and food producers for many years now. As director and founder of The Gourmet Entertainer, my goals when commencing this business was to source our fresh ingredients locally, to manufacture locally, and thereby doing our bit to promote circular economy and to fulfil our environmental footprint and sustainability goals. Let's move to the next slide there. As we upscaled production and outsourced to a local manufacturer, we were able to support the goal of local manufacturing and were able to improve efficiencies, thereby adhering to our environmental goals as well, but lost control of sourcing local ingredients. Sourcing locally grown produce to scale, such as tomatoes and apples, was unviable. Production-ready South Australian apples without an imported component cannot be guaranteed. Moving to the next slide there. So when I began this project around about 3 months ago, in March 2020, I set out to investigate food security in the supply chain, as I saw this as a way to address the issues. At the time, COVID-19 had just made its presence known here in Australia. As everywhere else, fear gripped the masses and we saw shelves being emptied everywhere, leaving a shortage of essentials. Governments rolled out economic emergency packages for businesses, and there was much talk of localising manufacture to reduce the risk of global instability threatening our economy. So I set out with the intention of investigating how to bring manufacturing and primary production closer together, to leverage this potential opportunity and to grow our local food production and strengthen our local supply chain. I chose the apple industry to case study, given my need for this ingredient and my links to the industry. Now, I've actually put a wrong slide in here, but have a read of it while I talk, and then we'll reflect back on this later on. Experts presenting at Food South Australia Summit last week and other reputable sources, including the CSIRO, in the same week confirmed the general feeling that a significant increase in local manufacturing was improbable due to many global markets stabilising and resuming competitive position and supplyability. There will have to be other drivers to increase local manufacturing. So, with a shift of focus, my intent is to find a working model that will strengthen our local economy and supply chain and connect producers and consumers, with the conduit being traceability. Having undertaken a number of interviews in June with key apple industry experts, Ian Evans, Chairman of Lenswood Cooperative, Susie Green, CEO of Apple and Pear Association, and Michael Stafford, apple pear grower and owner of Lobo Cider, and Red Current Apple Industry reports, I believe that with the right strategy, traceability could be the lever to position the industry. So, traceability has been on the global agenda for a number of years now. And with labelling requirements, both domestically and internationally, transparency is paramount. And as noted by the CSIRO, becoming a pressing issue. Not only for labelling though, consumers are increasingly more discerning and are questioning where their food comes from and what goes into their food. This is a global phenomenon, it's not just here. They are making buying decisions based on traceability and transparency, and the CSIRO expects this trend to rise. And that was reflected in the slideshow that I showed you earlier. So what is traceability? According to Food Standards Australia, traceability is the ability to track any food through all stages of production, processing and distribution, including importation and at retail levels. Traceability should mean that movements can be traced one step backwards and one step forward at any point of the supply chain. For food processing businesses, traceability should extend to being able to identify the source of all food inputs, such as raw materials, additives, other ingredients, and packaging. The futures document also notes that ecosystem outcomes from investing in traceability and provenance include increasing cohesiveness in markets and adding value. So why is traceability important? It supports the quality of a product, enables tracking, puts parameters around safety, and provides structure and reliability through auditing. This could include increased benefits from transparency around processes on the orchards, standardisation, and industry cohesiveness. It could also resolve existing problems in the supply chain. For instance, once the produce leaves the grower or the co-op, the industry has the facility to supply at optimal conditions year-round, 24/7, through just-in-time innovations. So traceability throughout the supply chain would reinforce the quality positioning of the apple, which then supports vision, mission, and branding used generally across this industry here in South Australia. Traceability could provide the vehicle for provenance and even history, providing value to the consumer. Such fact sharing as PIRSA's historical 30-year investment into the industry and many innovations that were developed, including varieties, virus-free rootstock, and orchard systems, including netting and efficiencies in watering, could be brought to light by using traceability. So who benefits from traceability? From my experience, being a stallholder at markets for the past 7 years, consumers are interested in health, environmental impact, carbon footprint, cost, provenance, being connected to the producer, and quality. Consumers are more discerning and after the free-from products. They also want to know what goes into their food, where it comes from, and how it was treated. According to the CSIRO, these trends are forecast to significantly increase in the next 10 years. They're after the experience, connection, and relationship. Meet the producer. Again, the CSIRO forecasts significant growth in agritourism in the next 10 years here in Australia. Primary producers benefit by selling more premium apples because their brand is strengthened through a more accountable supply chain. With added value through supply chain, the now superior apple available to the consumer in the retail store may influence the major supermarkets to reconsider branding strategy for this apple. Value add could also improve opportunities for young people in the industry and broaden opportunities for investment, funding, and R&D. Secondary producers, independent retailers, tourism and hospitality are after a point of difference in their products. Innovative premium secondary producers and manufacturers looking for that extra dimension, that quality value add, the transparency, the verification for the discerning consumer. Clearly, it also fulfills goals for government and authorities on many levels, aside from the obvious standardisation and regulation in food and supply chain benefits. It could also contribute to government investment goals in circular economy, renewables and environment, growth and innovation, increasing domestic markets, increasing global markets, and increasing cohesiveness in industries. So traceability, what are the barriers for the apple industry? Well, the big issue is getting producers on board. They will be resistant. It's the cost. And apple growers' critical concern is to get the price that they want for their bin of fruit. Many of them are just concerned with that. Over the past 5 years, they have suffered from major economic blows from environmental impacts such as hail damage, fire, and increasing damage from vermin and pests such as bats and kangaroos. The grower also typically works long hours and the work can be very physical. There are multiple other impacts, including there are only 2 major supermarkets that make up for approximately 80% of premium apple sales. Approximately 90% of the total market is for premium apples. The supermarkets have differing complex demands that are subject to change. They control the price and generic branding limits the market as well. National sales have declined. Export markets make up a very small segment and has shrunk due to cost. Decline in R&D over the years has also occurred, and risk in changing varieties, investing and cost of the R&D is a concern for the producer. Limited value add due to the cost, limited number of growers. Succession planning is a significant and growing issue in the industry. Communication and lack of cohesive long-term planning is noted in the Value Chain Analysis Report 2015. With misalignment and misunderstanding seeming endemic at all levels, including community level, industry level and upward. There is also fragmentation amongst the growers, with some selling through cooperatives, approximately 60 to 70%, and some going direct to buyer. This may also create disparity in standards. Cost of pickers, including accommodation provision and access, is also an issue with council restrictions. So to recap the causes of limitations within the apple industry, and I'll keep this relatively brief. Provenance and features are under-promoted in hospitality, tourism and export, underdeveloped in social media, underdeveloped marketing. Some parties are fragmented, self-directed and exclusive. Other factors are seen as more important. Major retailers don't permit branding, limited or no funding and limited R&D. So consequences for consumers. There is very limited opportunity to identify, source or be supplied by brand or provenance. And there's no way to identify, source or supply by type or grade, or the opportunities are limited actually. Limited opportunity to explore history. There's no clear way to align with or support traceability, and there's no clear way to integrate traceability at the moment. So the remedies: promote benefits, brands and industry strengths, create funding opportunities, value add, succession planning, align communication and policy, establish value to parties involved, uniting apple growers, add value for the economy, harness community pride, align with existing goals, create business opportunities, expand markets including domestic, export and into other growth areas such as agritourism, which is meant to be growing quite significantly into the future. So the summary: traceability could be the catalyst to improve issues endemic in the apple industry. Given the complex issues, problems highlighted, a strategic approach to traceability is recommended in order to capture reliable and accurate data, secure the right avenue to get industry engagement, establish a model which suits the industry and at the same time engages consumers, establish clear parameters, metrics and methodology to address the complex problems, and a review process that suits the industry. Finally, if you like what I'm doing and what I am intending to do and want to be a part of it, then head to my Facebook page, Trace Food Steps, and get in touch. You can also reach me via the Gourmet Entertainer website or on email, which are linked to those accounts. I'm also presenting findings at FoodConf 2020 in September, and I'll put the details up on Trace Food Steps Facebook page. Thank you.